There was a story in the Wall Street Journal. They said how to know that inflation is here to stay. And they said, the Fed is saying it's temporary. We have a sudden surge of demand because the restrictions are being lifted. However, what they note is really interesting. They said American families are flush with cash. Yeah, they've been getting
because of all the stimulus.
Right, they've just been giving people money, but there's nothing to buy. So what happens? Now, some people couldn't pay their rent. People in big cities were having problems. But what happens to the average family where they're being given the stimulus and they're just putting it in their account and they're not doing anything with it? We see this all the time in the super chats. People are like, hey, here's a super chat from my stimmy. It's like a lot of people weren't sweating that much. They got this money. Some people said they bought Doge with it. Mm-hmm. Some people were saying, that they were buying Bitcoin or whatever. But so now we're hearing that a lot of people have a savings. They have cash. You know what that means? They don't need jobs.
Yep.
So McDonald's and these other fast food restaurants are offering $500, $1,000 sign-on bonuses. Yeah. No one needs the money. Or I shouldn't say no one, but a lot of people don't, so they don't take the job. Not only that, you can't buy the things you want.
That's right.
I hear every day from my friends like, man, I've been trying to buy a PS5. I can't get one. If the PS5 doesn't exist, why would someone go get a job to buy one? If you can't buy it, you can't buy it. So what do they really want right now? So that means a lot of people who normally would be like, hey, I need to get a job because I really want to get the new PlayStation are going to be like, I don't need to.
Yeah.
I can live in a van and just sit here. Then you have people who have tons of money in their savings saying, as soon as the PS5 comes out, I can go buy it. Why get a job? I've got money in the bank. The only problem is if you don't work to make stuff, there's no stuff to buy.
Exactly.
So this seems like either accidentally, maybe it's on purpose, the mass printing of money, which Biden's now going to do another $6 trillion.
Yeah.
Hyperinflation is here to stay, but it's worse than that. Supply won't come back if no one needs to work. If no one needs to work, then nothing gets made. And if nothing gets made, no one buys anything. This to me sounds like it is the Great Reset.
I think the left, if we let them go unchecked, that's what they want, is they want total control. Because right now with COVID, they're able to accelerate the program they've been working on for years. They kill off all the industry jobs through overregulation. The right establishment does it too at the altar of the free market. And then the culture war coming in and saying that everybody must go to college and you don't really want to have a family. You don't really need to get married, have kids, and all that type of stuff.
You can't have kids right now. I mean, climate change.
We might all die. It's irresponsible, right?
No, you can't.
So they want to be able to control people. Government becomes family. Government becomes God. And then now we have the stimulus coming in. COVID just let them fully accelerate, I think, the economic part, because then they had been talking about UBI for a long time, and people were like, we're not going to do UBI. And they kept pushing it, and then boom, it's like, whoa, guys, global pandemic, no one can work. Let's just get them all hooked on free cash. And now it's total control.
But it's not UBI, it's IUB.
It's IUB.
Yeah, it's indefinite unemployment benefits.
Okay, yeah. So it's even worse. Yeah.
But it is interesting over the past year, and now we're halfway into this year.
Yeah.
People haven't been able to buy all the things they wanted. There's been shortages of everything.
And they're trying to condition people that this is the new norm. That, hey, you're just going to go long periods where like you can't work, but we got you. But you're not really going to be able to work hard to get the things that you want because that's not obtainable anymore.
I will say, first and foremost, I think it's good if people aren't being driven by material possessions for their self-worth. I think the idea that if people learn how to roll up their sleeves and go chop some wood to heat their homes instead of digging coal and burning stuff, I like that idea.
Yeah.
But this is not a conservative problem. I think conservatives, for the most part, know how to chop lumber and take care of themselves. This is a big city liberal problem. They're the ones who are going to be left high and dry.
This is.
I'll tell you what I find fascinating. All this is happening, whether it's just a natural flow of the system or it's intentional. Before COVID, there was this big push on YouTube for van life. Have you seen this stuff?
Yeah.
So is it a coincidence that YouTube is promoting all these van life videos? People go on YouTube and they say, hey, ditch your homes, go live in a van, quit your job.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you can't own a bunch of stuff.
Right.
You won't own a bunch of stuff. You'll live in a van. You'll take up less space and humans will spread out. I'm like, I like the idea of van life. I personally love the idea of being self-sufficient and personally responsible.
Yeah.
And encouraging these people in cities to do something. So I have no problem with, but I do find it very interesting that this narrative emerges. Then we get the whole lockdown thing.
Yep.
I think when it comes to COVID, the Democrats immediately said, don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'll clarify too. I'm not saying, what I'm saying specifically is COVID was exploited by progressives and leftists for their climate change agenda. What I mean by that is very early on, they weren't on board with this idea of like, locking down.
Yeah.
Fauci was saying, no, go on a cruise, no big deal.
Go to Chinatown.
Then all of a sudden they flipped, like, wait a minute, actually, we should shut things down. We should, pause everything. We should stop travel.
Yep.
They said Trump was wrong for banning travel. Wait, actually, I think they realized, like, wait a minute, this is very good politically for what we've been trying to do. Then all of a sudden, a 15-day to stop the spread turned into a year.
Still here.
Year and a half.
Still in Washington, my state, we're still there.
Yeah, because now vaccine passports. I think we saw it in the New York Times.
Yeah.
The planet is finally healing because of the lockdowns.
Yep.
They very much were like, can we just keep this thing going as long as possible?
Right.
Because it serves our agenda.
I think they saw that a lot of the things that the media and even people on the right said that Trump was crazy for preaching on the campaign trail when he said we can bring back American manufacturing. All the economists said, no, those jobs are gone and dead, and there's no way that working class wages can rise. Like that had been the rule of economics for years. But Trump, between 2017 and right before COVID came, like working class wages were rising, and the economy was doing really, really well. And so they were about a year out from the presidential election, and so like you said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Like let's accelerate this, and you can do that when you have the media pretty much 100% on your side.
Yeah, CNN particularly.
Yeah, right. The Cuomo brothers.
It's remarkable too because people can make fun of their low ratings all day and night, but they get hundreds of millions of views on YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube puts them on the front page.
Right.
You search for this news, CNN comes up.
Absolutely.
I can do a 2-hour interview with you. And then CNN can produce a 1-minute clip. And if you search YouTube, what are you going to get? You're going to get the CNN 1-minute clip.
They were posting COVID death numbers. Project Veritas
right,
really blew the lid off of that. It's just insidious.
Yeah.
Panic for views, basically.
Yeah, and then Trump sent out the USS Comfort out there, and they refused to use it while, Cuomo and de Blasio were stuffing old people back in old folks' homes.
You mentioned that things were going really well under Trump economically. Yeah. It wasn't just wages. A lot of the things the progressives had been demanding were naturally occurring, like a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
Several large businesses announced that they were doing 4-day work weeks because they were doing so well.
Yeah.
Reduced work hours. A lot of businesses announced this. Paid vacations, benefits. All of a sudden, we started seeing businesses be like, we're going to pay more, we're going to do vacations, the economy's doing so well.
Yeah.
So it's different from an artificial inflated wage increase
right.
of like the government mandates it or it's required because of mass spending.
Yep.
This was legitimately
true.
like the economy was kicking up.
Yeah.
People were having vacations, people were doing well. I remember when we were starting this show, I went to a furniture place and I was like, we got to buy furniture for the show. And the lady there was like, 2019 was the best year of my life. Because this was January of 2020. It's like December, January. We had a guy come out doing landscaping and he was like, last year was the best year I ever had. So this was genuinely people doing commerce with each other, but that's the opposite of what a lot of these Democrats wanted.
Exactly.
They didn't want everyone buying and building more.
Right.
They want a retraction.
Yep.
They want people living in vans under Trump.
That's right.
People were building castles for themselves, figuratively. Like they're improving their homes. Right. They were growing their families. Mm-hmm. Things were better than ever.
Those people are harder to control. You want I'm the guy that gives you your income. I tell you what little pods you can live in. Like you can't go have any of the resources. I'll give you the resources. That's where the left has just become the authoritarians.
I'll tell you what's funny. We have the meme, I will not eat the bugs. I will not live in the pod.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because I've said on the show numerous times, I don't mind eating bugs if I have to, because I think if you're going to be gritty, hardcore survivalist and want to be responsible, you'll do what you got to do to survive. And I don't mind living in a pod if it's like I'm in the forest, I've got my own little hut that I've built, and I'm responsible for myself. I'm fine with that.
Sure. The
funny thing is, the city-dwelling liberal types have been living in the pod already.
Yeah.
Like New York's been famous for their cubicle apartments where it's like the kitchen and the bathroom, like there's a toilet in your kitchen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's crammed together.
Yep.
So people in the cities have already been living in the pods.
Right.
Now the news stories are coming out saying, hey, go eat the cicadas, go eat the bugs.
Yeah.
That's the city people. You live in the country. We got chickens outside.
Right, exactly.
We have farms everywhere out here. You drive up, you walk in, they got fresh meat.
Yep.
You live in the city, you might got to eat the bugs.
Yep.
But so I'm like, if they want to do their thing, the only issue is they want everyone to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. They want rules that are based off of a city perspective that will affect literally everybody. Yeah. So then you live in the middle of nowhere and you've got, a cow and you want to, produce some beef, and then you get federal regulators saying you can't. We're putting a hold. So we recently went to farms and we were told like there's a shortage because the USDA or whatever regulatory agency was saying we weren't allowed to serve up the beef or something. They were like restricting the dates because of COVID. Then you get the gun laws.
Yep.
They want to make people who live in the middle of nowhere who aren't the problem
live
by the rules of the people in the city who are the problem.
Full control. Everything they're doing is just geared towards that full control. Because people in the country that are self-sufficient or that have their hands on a key lever of the economy, production, like they're independent. They, as they say, cling to their gods and their guns, and they build families, and they're kind of hard to go screw with, as opposed to the guys that live in the pods in the city that are waiting to work on the gig economy, or they're begging for the next tech job. You know,
I think it's funny too. It's like. It's interesting, like conservatives are defending liberals in a sense, because they're like, we shouldn't have to do these things. And I'm like, wait, guys, like if you live in the country and you already know how to source your own food, how to start your own fires, you're proficient with weapons. I understand not the regulation pushing back, but if they want to live in the city and live in pods and eat bugs,
hey, go for it.
Yeah, just let them do their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, don't complain. They're the ones who are going to have to do it. The cities are the ones who are going to have to dramatically change.
Right.
You know,
is it like a miscalculation by these city dwellers out of ignorance that they're trying to legislate city doctrine for everyone across the country, or do you think it's more malicious?
I think at the top levels it's more malicious, because you do. I think the top of the left wing, they really want that full authoritarian control. I think they've done a good job of kind of brainwashing lower information people, and they've done that by infiltrating the media and the education system. And most people that are going to live in a city, they've been told that, hey, to make it in the big city, you need to have a college degree in something, you know. And so I think the universities had just became an indoctrination factory a long time ago, where they've been sold this whole religion of like, hey, whoever's in charge is who you listen to, is the professor in school, and now it's the government. And as long as we get our team in government, that's exactly who you listen to. And if the other team gets in, the mean orange man, like no matter what he says, like that's got to be wrong. And it's not just wrong, he's a Nazi. And so whatever you need to do to take that away is the right thing, and you're morally superior.
I think if I was going to make a prediction, either there's going to be a great upheaval, a very serious conflict, or within 2-3 years, everyone's going to be living in pods and eating bugs.
Yeah.
No joke. I think, people out in the country will still have their farm animals, probably be less likely to be eating bugs. But the way things are going, the way the political agenda is going, that's where we're headed.
I think this is a testing period right now. I mean, I think we're on the precipice of either the country drastically changing and we becoming way more authoritarian, where we have to listen to whoever is in Washington, D.C., and they have very control of intimate aspects of our lives, or I think we're going to see a huge pushback. I'm cautiously optimistic, I should say, that in 22 there's going to be a bunch of America First candidates to go and take the House and the Senate back, and then we're going to have 2 years of hard legislative fights, hard culture war fights, media fights. But I do believe then we're going to be able to get enough momentum to take the country back in 2024.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.